everyone. I got my permanent residency this month. So basically I got it in 15 months when the processing time was 24 months, and it is a direct grant. So I'm going to be sharing with you all the tips and tricks that I used to get a direct grant. Alright, so let's get started. Welcome to MetaCare Tribe, a community to shoulder each other with the right mindset, success strategies, relationship management, and Australian immigration advice. Alright, so I applied for 887 on 30th of August 2018. So in my previous videos, I shared you about my journey through 489 visa. So I reached Australia on August 26, 2016. And so exactly after 2 years, I applied and I got a direct grant. So how does this happen? What is the 887 visa? How does it work? So we're going to see all the information that you could possibly do. It obviously differs case to case depending on how complex your case is, how different your case is. But if it's going to be a very straightforward case, I'm sure these tricks will help you. So what is an 887 visa? It is a pathway to permanent residence visa. It is applied by eligible visa holders. So who are all eligible? So usually you have most of the applicants who apply are the 489 visa holders, who are provisional skilled regional migrants, either sponsored by a state government or a territory, or by an eligible relative residing in a regional area. So people pretty much who are on a 489 know what is a 489 because they hold it. So you can start preparing for your permanent resident. Everyone wants to be a permanent resident one day. That's why we are all here. So few people are lucky enough to get a direct grant 190 of permanent resident, come to Australia as a permanent resident, which is not the case in most of the cases. So in that case, 489 will come in handy, giving you the entry stepstone to Australia. So if you get a 489, don't be 489 does not exist anymore. So if you get 491 or any other temporary resident visa, so use it as a stepping stone. So you will get there if you abide by the rules of the immigration department. All right. So that is the eligible visa. So you've got 489, you've got 475, you've got 486. All right. So these visa holders will be eligible to apply for 887. So how do you start preparing for documents? What are essential? So there are two things that you'll have to prove is 2 years of stay in regional center and 1 year, which is 12 months of work full time in any occupation. It need not be in the occupation that you have been assessed for. All right, so it can be anything, but it has to be a full-time occupation. But even if you're doing part-time, you could still manage up the hours. So we'll see the details in a second. So the first condition, stay in a regional center for 2 years. So the regional area is the area given in your visa. All right, so there is a lot of confusion now. I get questions every day. So I'm on a 489. Will the new regional centers, Perth and Queensland, be included as regional in my case? No. So the Department of Immigration has clearly stated that these conditions or these list of postcodes are applicable for the visas that are issued before November 16, 2019. Okay, so the case is very clear for applicants who have received their grant before 16 of 2019, the regional centers or the regional area postcodes, and who have received it after. So do not get confused. Whatever time you apply for 887 has nothing to do or with the grant that was given. So this 489 grant, whatever conditions were given are the conditions that you have to abide by. Even if you're going to apply in 2021, 2022, the visa grant that was given to you and the rules that are applied on your visa is the one that you have to abide by. So please be clear with that. Do not get confused. So in the regional areas, read your rules very clearly, because if you're sponsored by a state government or a territory, so you will be given a list of regional postcodes, and if you're sponsored by a relative, you'll be given a list of designated postcodes. I will give you a link to my Facebook post that has got all the details about the rules that will be imposed on a visa grant. So please go through that clearly. If you have any questions, please comment below. So that's one thing that you'll have to be very clear in following the rules. I've mentioned in all my videos, if you just stick to the rules, you will have no issues, no hassle in getting anything done by the Australian government. All right. So how do you prove that you lived in 2 years? Okay, you've lived in a regional area for 2 years. The first document that will stand for you is your lease agreement. All right. So lease agreement is a contract that is signed between you and the property owner or the landlord. It could be a direct agreement that you sign with the landlord, or I personally would say it is very safe to go through an agent. All right, so I will link a separate video how to get secure a property, what are the safest ways, because I have been cheated by a direct lady from whom I took a lease, and she literally ran away with my bond money, and I fought with the bond authority and I received my money back. So that's a totally different story. I don't want to get into that now, but that is something that could happen. So go through a proper recognized agencies, or even if a landlord, just have proper documentation. So documents, evidences always speaks, and it'll keep you safe. So have a document ready. So the document should have details about the start date of your lease agreement and the end date of your lease agreement, and the amount you're going to pay every week or every fortnight. Fortnight is 2 weeks. So usually the payment is done fortnight, but if you pay weekly, that's different. Monthly is generally not the scenario here. All right. So lease agreement is the first and foremost document which will speak. Most of the cases, if you're staying in a shared accommodation, you can get a letter from the owner saying that this person has lived from here this date to this date at this particular property. And I would say if you're opening a new bank account, your bank statement with that particular address will be another proof. And if you're getting a driver's license, Australian driver's license, whichever state you're going to, that will be another evidence for your address proof, and any kind of communication with the workplace. So your offer letter, contract will have the address that you're giving as proof. Your super communication, the super is similar to PF in India. So if you have your super account, the super will send you regular letter communications. You will be surprised about the letter communications here in Australia. Everything, most of the communication is through letter. Even if they send you an email, you'll get heaps of posts. So keep all those letter communications. And if you're taking broadband connection, Wi-Fi connection, so that is again an utility bill that you can give. So you can also give your power bill, your gas bill, water. Depends, sometimes the landlord pays, sometimes you pay for it. So depending on any utility bills can be claimed. So I would say the more evidences you give, so this is the trick. There should not be any question in the visa officer's head when they scan through your application. So basically it's like they have a checklist and they just check them off. All right. So if you're going to give them one doubt, that's when they're going to scrutinize your application more. The more transparent your application is, very clear, without any confusion, you're just going to check all the boxes and get your grant immediately. All right. So utility bills are another one thing. If you have children, so I personally attached every semester report of my children, so they know that my children are studying in this particular school, which is in a regional area. So I attached the school reports, school admission reports. When I changed states, I immediately changed my information in my IMMI account. So you have a form for change of contact details. I changed my contact details to my updated address, updated phone number. If you change your email, whatever it is, just update your contact details. Keep them updated until you get your grant. Okay, so whatever changes happen, they have no issues with changes happening as long as it does not breach condition. So my visa was given by the Northern Territory government, or sponsored by the Northern Territory government. I stayed there for 2 years, applied for my visa. It took me like more than a year. I moved to Adelaide, South Australia, which is again regional. So I didn't breach my condition. When I spoke to the immigration department, they told me you have to still abide by the 489 condition imposed on your visa because you have applied for 887. However, you are still on 489. Your bridging does not come into effect until your 489 is valid. My 489 is still valid up to next year 2020. Now I've got my grant, so that is being taken off, but I still have my 489 valid, so I have to still abide by the condition of 489 and I can't breach the condition. So South Australia is still regional. That is the reason I moved here. Immediately I updated them with my new lease agreement, my children's school details, my new driver's license, all possible details that they could verify with the government agencies, and there is no fraudulent documents. There is no, and there is a clause, there is a scenario where people take a lease agreement from a friend or a family that they stay here, they just get the letter. But say for example, they say that they're living in a regional New South Wales region postcode, however they live in Sydney. So Immigration Department, interestingly, they get your bank statements and they can access your bank account to check where you've tapped your card and accessed and purchased. So when you're traveling as a traveler, they know it's like 1 day, 2 days. But if it's going to be every day you're transacting at a particular postcode or a group of postcodes in that surrounding area, that would raise a question, and that's where the issue comes. Some people think they can do smart words and try to fake the government, but unfortunately it doesn't work that way. So please be honest, it's just a matter of time, maybe another 1 year or another 6 months. Be patient. I did move, I was impatient, I did move, but I moved without breaching the condition. So that kind of a smart move is definitely accepted. Okay, so that is the first condition of stay. So these are the evidences that you can prove to show them that you've lived in a regional area. Second is your work experience. So work experience of 12 months need not be in the occupation that you've been assessed. That's one big advantage of 887 visa. So I was assessed as an university lecturer, but I couldn't manage to get a university lecturer occupation in Darwin. So I was working in a call center. So that is not a problem as long as I meet the hours of requirement. So full time is 35 hours. So it could be 35 hours with 2 part-time jobs or 3 part-time jobs, as long as you can make it to 35 hours. So that is all that they need. So there is a huge dispute about Uber drivers, Uber Eats, people who are doing it, but there are a lot of success stories with Uber Eats, but there are a hell of a lot of success stories with question marks with Uber and Uber Eats. So I'm not going into that debatable topic, but if you are self-employed and if you have your tax statement and your income statement showing your number of hours you worked to full-time hours, it's definitely acceptable. Okay, so that is about the work requirement. So this is the standard, pretty much everybody does it. For evidences of work, you have to give your contract copy, you have to give your pay slips every week. Okay, so every week or every fortnight that you get, so you can compile it with PDF merge all your PDFs. So this is how you prepare. So the moment you get your first job, open a separate folder with your company name or with your job name and save your contracts. Every pay slips you get, save it as 1, 2, 3, 4. It'll be easy for you to merge. That's what I did. So you just put a folder 2020 and then start saving them, or January, February, March, however you want to do it. Just merge them together for your pay slips. So pay slips, they require 52 pay slips per year. If you're getting it obviously per fortnight, it'll be 26 pay slips per year. That's how you work it out. So if you have job for 6 months and then for some reasons unfortunately you lose your job and then you are jobless for 3 months and then you start another job for 4 months, so it is already 6 months plus 4 months is 10 months. Okay, so that's how. So you can have breaks in between. It need not be one stretch of 12 months. It need not be permanent full time. It's all about the number of hours. Okay, so you can prove your work experience with your pay slips, bank statements, your super account, and if you're self-employed, obviously your transaction details and your payee summary, which is your tax statement, and after you file your tax you get a report. So basically, even here, the more information you give them, the more transparent you are, easier the grant. If you have children, as I said, you can have the immunization record. So that's what I did the moment I came here. You go to a community center or a GP, a doctor, and show your immunization records, because my second son was only 1 year old. So I showed them my immunization vaccination card that he had in India, matched him with all the other vaccines that he has to do according to Australian standards. My older son, he required 1 or 2 extra vaccines. We did it here, and I had my immunization card for them. And then you show them their school reports or childcare reports or whatever documents, evidences you can provide. So that's one thing additional I did. All right. So that's all about the document preparation. Now, when you apply, okay, so when you apply for the grant, it is not like I came on the August 26th and then it goes August 26th, 2018. So you can use Google and say days calculator and check in that with the days when you apply, because there was an interesting case with one of my friend where he was so desperate and he applied right on that day and he waited, and then the visa officer said, though you waited for all these days, your date of application was 1 day earlier than you should apply, and he was deemed ineligible. Okay, how I mean, I would be heartbroken. So just check the number of days. So but then I did it on the August 30th because I wanted to fall in the August category and not in September, if that makes sense. So there is a time slot they take the applications launched in a particular month. So I didn't want to go back or lag behind a month. So, but I carefully calculated the days and gave 1 day, say a buffer time, and I applied on August 30th, 2018. All right. So that is one thing, that you have to manage the days and be smart and apply. So you fall on a particular month, and then you don't be super exact on that day. Give it a day or two and then do it. All right. So that's one thing that you have to do. And the other thing that I did was I kept updating my payslips. Okay, I kept updating my payslips until the last day my visa was granted. Okay, so that is one thing. I kept them informed of everything that was happening with me and my husband. When my husband had his payslips, I updated my husband's payslips. When he had an extra license or a ticket or a qualification, we added that to his Australian qualification under his profile. So keeping them informed, keeping them updated tells them that you are really transparent with what you're doing, and you know they don't have any questions. And the other thing is police clearance, which is a mandatory document for Australian PR. So you have to give the police clearance that you get from India till the time that you arrive here. So your old PCC has to be attached. This is one thing most people do not do. They apply for a fresh Indian police clearance. Again, depending on how long you've gone to India or how long you visited another country is again a clause. In my case, I visited maximum for 3 weeks or 4 weeks, which is not a criteria for me to obtain a police certificate again. So my old PCC was up to 2016. From 2016, I needed only an Australian police clearance up to 2018, and which is valid for 1 year. So what I did, after 9 months, I applied for another police clearance certificate, so which made it active. So I had 2 Australian Federal Police AFP clearance certificate. So I had it current valid police clearance. Most people applied once and they leave it. So by the time the case officer takes your document, it's no longer valid. So they tend to ask you for a police clearance certificate again. So that's one thing. And another important extra document we made is Form 80 for me and my husband. So anyone over 16 is expected to have Form 80, which people think is optional. But it's always better to have Form 80 updated, because it gives you all the information about that particular person. Dependent, primary, secondary, doesn't matter. So I did Form 80 for my husband, which again helped me to get a direct grant. Okay. And so police clearance certificate. So medicals obviously is not a concern here. So medicals is not really a criteria. So it's all about, so just to quickly summarize, your application date of application, the time you're applying should be exactly after 2 years. If you've completed your stay criteria, you've completed your work criteria, apply exactly within that particular month to fall under that particular month. Okay, and have all the evidences ready for your living for 2 years. So it has to clearly state the days and the months. I calculate if it clearly quantifies for 24 months of stay in a regional area with all the evidences I've discussed. And for work experiences, keep all transparent documents of pay slips, everything organized. So it should be 52 pay slips per year. If you're getting weekly pay slips, 26 if it's going to be per fortnight. And keep your police clearance updated. Any other Australian licenses, tickets, qualifications you get, keep them updated every time. Just don't launch your application and just forget it, or just see that, okay, this is my eligibility, I've fulfilled my criteria, I'm not going to keep it updated. So it's obviously I'm at loss. So the more you put in the efforts, definitely I can see benefits, because people who have applied before me, so many months before me, have still not have got the grant. So this is the difference of that extra step that you take to keep them updated. Another final criteria that I forgot to mention is the English eligibility for the secondary applicants. This is a huge confusion for most of the people. So if you want to take IELTS for your secondary applicant, you're more than welcome to take, but there is a condition saying you could give English evidence in the form of letters from your schools and colleges that you've studied in an English medium. So all the education instruction was done in English. So we did that for my husband. We got that bona fide certificate from his schools and college, and we just attached it as English evidence. Here we go. We got the grant for the entire family. So do not complicate. It's a very, very transparent process. Just stick to the rules. Read every rule word by word. Try to understand. If you do not understand, please post in the comments below, and I'm happy to answer them all. Alright, so good luck to all of you to get your direct PR grant and establish and call Australia your home. Alright, please like, subscribe and comment for more such immigration advice, and let's shoulder each other together and grow. Thank you.